I realized why I didn't want to do vlog content. And if you've ever watched any of my old channels, which don't exist, I keep deleting channels. I don't think I'll delete this one though. But why I was so bad and felt so bad at it is because, or really I feel like I couldn't do it was because I was bad at it. I can yap, I can write, I can do these things, but being here and sharing how I feel, well, one, I'm not good at it. One, I don't, I'm so used to putting up walls and barriers. You know, two, I don't think people listen. I'm not some white girl on here talking about my feelings, or even white boy, because even that matters. But I don't know. I feel like it's trying to do something different in a different direction. But right now I'm dealing with I guess you could say, a depressive spell, or I feel very tamasic, right? A lot heavy inertia. I don't feel as inspired to do. But as I get more energy, as I get a little bit of inspiration, it's enough to kind of jet me into, I get a little rajasic, a little active mode. And one thing about sadhana, I've come to understand that I didn't really know when I first got in. Right? I guess you could say this is a little bit of wisdom that I've gained when I started, practicing, and that it really doesn't fix you. Like, I really thought, the problems, the childhood trauma, the abuse, the sexual trauma, all this sort of stuff, could just go away. Like, you realize the truth of the nature of reality, and somehow that would make all the bad things that happen to you worth it. I think it would make a good story that at least it meant something. Yes, you didn't have a good childhood. Yes, you end up with a lot of insecurities and a lot of self-doubt, but at least it meant something. For a lot of spiritual people, it feels good to say, well, you picked your life before you were born. Or it feels, valiant to say you're suffering for God. It's not as good to say, well, this is just karma. You've lived many lives. You've done many things, and that's just what's the result of your most recent. That doesn't feel good. It feels maybe worse to say that it was not necessary. Karma is like, okay, well, maybe to work it out for the nature of the soul towards something, you could say a sort of Hindu way, or even a New Age way, where, you work it out for the evolution of your soul, for some big thing, or something purposeful about your suffering. The Buddhist way, we kind of say, I say we, even though I'm not really Buddhist, but I kind of float between Buddhism and Hinduism. But the Buddhists will say, no, it's actually unnecessary. It actually means nothing. All your negative karma is propelling you, all the suffering propelling you into more suffering, endlessly, forever. That feels worse, right? That feels almost as bad as shit happens, right? Where your suffering doesn't really mean a damn, it just happened to you. Because then it makes you feel like nothing. Like, not like it, that, regardless if it's true, feels like it confirms the belief that the reason you suffered, because it's not a reason, it's just an explanation, but it feels like the reason you suffer is because you're nobody, because you don't matter. It's because you're not special. And I think the fight, or the push, especially my end, was trying to find my way to be special. I thought, there's a good talk by Joko Ben, and she was a Zen master, about like what we think when we go into practice. That practice will give us all these things, that it'll be a magic wand and solve all our problems. And you practice, and it doesn't matter what practice it is. If it is some form of sadhana, you do this, you believe, and maybe in a little bit it looks like it changes your life, it adds things to you. But the more you live, the more you practice, the more you realize that you're receiving the fruits of your karma, of your thinking, of your actions, of your words, and you can start changing them. Right? You'll start to change those things, but even still, you still have the karma you have. You're still dealing with. You're still living life. You're still going through it. But we think life is going to change for us spectacularly, and life does change. But a lot of life stays the same. And because it doesn't give us these big goals, we may feel able to give it up, or to believe that it doesn't work, or that spirituality is bullshit. But spirituality isn't bullshit. It's only bullshit when you have these concepts, when you have a worldly mind, you could say, right? And what is a worldly mind? The worldly mind is wanting to feel good and not wanting to feel bad on a very base level. Worldly mind isn't really even being rich or having a lot of partners. A worldly mind is the frame of reference where the point of life is for me to feel good and not to feel bad. And we all feel this. I feel this. I don't consider myself not worldly. I consider myself pretty worldly. I've come to realize that I'm very worldly, and the practice allows us to let go of that particular concern, whether or not you feel good about yourself, about your life, about where it's heading. And in a way, yes, when you let go of that, achieving it becomes easier because you're not adding your negative beliefs and biases that end up halting it. But that's the side benefit. But because the ultimate benefit, or what the main benefit you may be believed to be, right, is so far off for a lot of us, it becomes easier to be like, well, I guess I'll get the side benefit. I'll get the money, or I'll get the job, or I'll get the relationship, or I'll get the health. And as we practice and we still feel sick, we still don't have money, we still hate ourselves, there's this idea that, well, maybe we're just broken. And no, you're not broken. Nor is practice not working. But what you're really doing is you're coming into understanding that you have to experience it all. It's all. You have to experience it all. And that's something I say that I'm not really ready to experience it all. I still want to run away. I'm still afraid. I'm still sad. But I still practice. And I come to realize that the reason why I still practice now isn't because sometime, somewhere in the future, when I get enlightened or go to heaven, I'll feel better. Or I'll be magically healed. Or even that I'll be healed at all, regardless if it's through magic or through, just effort or letting go. You may say I never get healed, or I never reach my goal. Why do I practice? I practice because for me, sadhana is a constant. I had this illumination a few months ago. I was chanting mantra, and I was at work and I was just chanting mantra to myself, and it kind of hit me. Whether a bad day happens, I can still chant. Whether a good thing happens, I can still chant. I can't control the winds of cause and effect. Not like as it's happening. As I'm experiencing it, I can't control it. Sure, I can set up the cause and condition, but when the avalanche is downhill, when the snowball is downhill, there is no stopping it. I have to experience it. Maybe I can get out of the way. Maybe I can minimize it, but it will come down. Yet there's something I can control, and there is something in it, and I'm still chewing off it. I'm still unpacking that wisdom to this day. I'm still letting that sit, but there was some level, there was some almost glimpse of realization there. That wasn't a special state. That wasn't altered state. It wasn't a supernatural experience. It was simply just an insight that life around me even my internal state, my emotional state, my body will have issues. It will go through skin issues. It'll, my body is not perfect. It'll go through pain. It'll have pain. I'll have headache. I'll have foot pain. I'll have glute pain. My relationship won't always be rosy and peaceful. My job, my money, these things fluctuate. These things always, no matter what you manifest, things fluctuate. The external world is a fluctuating world, but yet there's something in me that's not the body, that's not my thoughts. There's something that's able to say the mantra, right? And that's when people talk about this japa work or this meditation work, it works when you get to realize that you first believe you, the ego, the personality, is doing the practice. And that's why most of us fall. Because when we as a personality do a practice, do take on an endeavor, go on a journey, we're doing it for the sake of a goal. We go learn about entrepreneurship and go into business to make more money. We take relationship advice and go on dating apps to find love and sometimes physical comfort, but that's still an aspect of it. We go work out and change our diets to feel better, to look pleasing, and to live longer. We even go to psychotherapy and self-help books to feel better and in control about ourselves. Right? That's the ego personality. They see a desire, they follow a plan or a path to get there. So of course, you take that and you do yoga, you chant a mantra, you do devotional prayers, you meditate, right? You do work, service in the world. For the mistaken idea that you as an ego gets to get something, and it's become a cliche, but it's true. You as an ego really, really want it, and that's good. That's the first step. You wouldn't get it if you didn't think there was a benefit. But unlike all the other ones, which go through hardship, which have their struggles, which cause you need to grow in your consciousness and persevere to get anything, you need to get to a relationship, you need a level of higher consciousness, at least a good one. If you want, wealth, you need a level of higher consciousness. Health, these things, all exist in the idea of high consciousness, the belief of an expansion of what it is. But spirituality causes you to expand so much that you can't be the center. And as you practice, as you meditate, as you chant, as you pray, that you start to, it's almost like you're digging and you start to crack something starts to go, you start to see the sign. And for me, it was the idea that what was chanting the mantra could not be the ego. Sure, my voice or my quote-unquote mind was thinking it, repeating it, saying it. The attention was, the mechanics were happening, but it wasn't me. Because the me, Salanti, I want to be gendered correctly. I want to not work a job. I want to have money. I want good, pleasurable experiences, sensual, in a sensual way. I want these things. So of course, if the thing I'm doing isn't getting that and the mantra is not giving me any of those things, I should toss it. Yet there was something that still held on to it as I was experiencing the pain, as I was going through ups and downs. I could still chant. No matter what I couldn't do, I could still chant. So then what was it that's chanting? What is it that can chant? That doesn't need anything else but to chant. That doesn't need anything else but the mantra, the meditation, the prayer. I don't know what you could call it. I don't know what people would call it. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate, because then that's the ego trying to speculate on it and not the real thing. So, my life, it's gotten better. Not where I want it to be. Don't think that'll ever be the case, because my wants will be endless. But even with the ups and downs, where my karma will bring it to fruition, whether or not I make it to moksha, liberation, say that's not the case, say that's not this life, there's something in me that's, you could say, dependent on the mantra, dependent on the sadhana. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, for all the dependencies I've ever had, sadhana being one of the ones I've become extremely dependent on. That's really it. See ya.